Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto.
In a world on the brink of disruption, two men will bring you clarity by interviewing some of the most intelligent and influential names in the blockchain world. Welcome to Show Me the Crypto with your hosts, Wade Patterson and Ulf Lonergan.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Show Me the Crypto. My name is Wade Patterson.
And I'm Ulf Lonergan.
We're a couple of friends from Canada who love learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, and we're happy you're along for the ride. Whether you're a crypto virgin or you know your way around the block, we hope our interviews with some of the most intelligent and influential people in the blockchain space help deliver you with value. And on this episode, we're joined by returning guest Heidi Chakos, founder of Crypto Tips. In October, weeks before the FTX drama began to really unfold, Heidi posted a prophetic video to her YouTube channel titled, "Why I Think Sam Bankman-Fried is a Fake." Toward the end of the video, Heidi says, "There have been a lot of megalomaniacs, but they all tend to fade away into the oblivion of crypto history because it's not about the person, it's about the decentralized networks that are being built and the freedom that they grant." Heidi, welcome to Show Me the Crypto.
Thanks so much for having me on, Wade and Ulf. I'm glad you guys are still having this channel, and I know you guys are helping educate a lot of people in crypto. That's much needed. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on. So a little fun fact for our guests, you were episode number 1, which we'll definitely link to in the episode notes. That's right, where people can learn all about you, the fact, like your history in the space, everything along those lines. But for today's conversation, it's going to be very topical of what has been happening with FTX. First off, what a call that you made last month. Just crazy that you put that video out prior to all of this unfolding. So question number 1 is just what prompted you to make that video?
Yeah, I think it was him. I mean, he's always been a proponent for regulation, and that step forward that he made of like trying to get it like legislation based on that, backed by his interview with Eric Voorhees, and just a complete mismatch of his message versus what he could actually project personally, like speaking. It just seemed like there was a major disconnect. And also, like, if you've been around in crypto since like 2016, you've seen a lot of people like this come and go because they get the attention, they get the money, they get people trusting them, and then they think it's all about them. And it's completely missing the point. And if you stick to the fundamentals of crypto, it's kind of easy to point out, and it will happen sooner or later. I didn't perfectly, say, oh, FTX is going to go down because they're misusing users' funds and everything. But like, there was definitely indications of just a lot of greed and trying to portray himself in a certain way, in the media, trying to be the world's richest kid to give it away to charity. And that didn't quite happen like ever. So it was kind of alarming to me how many people were assigning him as their crypto hero. And so that was kind of my clap back at that. It was like, okay, let's get back to what's actually needs to be built here. And who cares about that guy,
And so for those who aren't maybe as so familiar about the DCCPA, the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, what can you tell us about, why was SBF supporting that? And what are some of maybe the specifics from that that maybe weren't so agreeable from your point of view?
Oh my goodness. Well, there was a lot of suggestions or ideas that he had in it, and just the logistics of implementing it is impossible. For example, he wanted DeFi, like smart contracts, to be registered. Like, how does a smart contract register itself? Also, he wanted blockchains to instantly be able to be frozen if there was ever a hack. So then, they could just for the ability to stop a hack from happening. When you're really saying you need to have literally a power button on and off for a blockchain that one person or two people or a very few small group of people can control the activity of a blockchain, which completely is opposite of why this was created in the first place, the opposite of centralized control. And the guy, he got into crypto because he found a profit opportunity, not because he was inspired by anything that was actually being built. He created a centralized exchange that offered all of the things that he wished a centralized exchange would have based on his history of trading right out of college, and he worked for a big trading firm. So he saw, what crypto was missing from the traditional side of it, and he looked to bring that into it. So yeah, just a lot of big ideas, but no real logistics of how to accomplish it.
Yeah, I think it's funny that it says we need an off button to be able to pause all transactions on a blockchain. And as we now know, there was literally a backdoor in a similar sense through FTX that he was in God mode, had all power to shut it down or do things behind the scenes that were totally off the books. It's just to be honest, crazy to look at,
Yeah, he might have seen what's happened with Solana or with Binance Smart Chain and be like, hey, they can do it. So yeah, why can't every blockchain be like that?
Yeah, right.
So
I'm curious.
There's definitely
I'm curious how the reaction was to that video. So you posted the video initially during a time before this was on most people's radar. So was there any pushback at that time initially? And then now, having the luxury of hindsight of the fact that this is all unfolded the way it has, what have people's reaction been now to the fact that, you kind of predicted that something fishy was up?
Yeah, at first there was a few people who were definitely trying to defend Sam, saying, oh, he is charitable. He is doing the right thing. He is a humanitarian. And a lot of people who are obviously had a lot of big holdings in FTT saying, oh, I hope that isn't right. I have a lot of FTT. And so that's obviously influencing their opinion on the guy because they're influenced that way. And then it was, a few weeks before I really started popping off. And then everyone started commenting, oh, this aged really well. This aged like fine wine. Yeah. Oh, can you pick my lottery tickets tomorrow? And all these funny things. And a lot of people are thankful that, like me, they were smelling something kind of fishy after you tried to do that regulation push. And they took their coins off even months before. So really glad to see that there are some people that have wits about them and are now, I think, because the rate of Bitcoin or crypto, I think in general, but I heard this statistic specifically for Bitcoin that's leaving exchanges now is at a record rate. So I hope that is from everyone learning their lesson. Maybe it's people who are freaking out about crypto in general. But so it's a really good, I think, reaction from a collapse of a custody platform is that people are like, oh yeah, I don't want to have to wait to trust to see if I make a withdrawal, if they let me make a withdrawal. Because we've all been there. If you have coins on an exchange, you make a withdrawal and you're like, okay, is it coming? Especially if you know that that exchange is kind of in a scary situation. So I think that's a really good feeling to remember and let that sit in your brain of not ever putting yourself in that situation where your investments, or at least the majority of your investments, are at risk for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of this happened specifically over the last couple weeks. And what we're hoping to do with this episode, because this is the first time we've really dove into everything that's going on with FTX, is kind of take a bit of a timeline approach to what happened. So starting really on November 2nd, so CoinDesk broke the story on the fact Alameda's balance sheet was really heavily invested in this FTT token. So from your perspective, just maybe for our audience who they haven't heard a lot of the details about this situation or something along those lines, or they don't fully understand it, why is that problematic that Alameda was holding so much FTT token?
Yeah. So Alameda Research is like a sister company of FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried owns both of them. He launched both of them. His girlfriend is actually the CEO of Alameda Research. So right there's a connection to pay attention to. But Alameda Research is basically a crypto hedge fund that they use to make investments in other cryptocurrency platforms. There's been some attention being paid to VCs entering crypto in 2020, 2021, just pouring money into projects. And Alameda Research is one of those. So what they were doing is FTX was creating this token, FTT, giving it to Alameda Research. Alameda Research was investing that in other projects. At the same time, they're having Super Bowl ads. They've bought out the Miami Heat arena for basketball. They were pushing really hard, right? That's why all these celebrities are now in a lawsuit now. But anyway, so there was a lot of reputation being lent to FTT. And so people are getting excited about it. People are buying it. The price was pumping up. And then they were leveraging that new created value that they just printed out of thin air to, again, invest in other coins and get people interested in FTX. So that's why it's important, why these are connected, is because that's basically who is funding a lot of other crypto platforms. That's why you're seeing a lot of cascading domino effects of FTX going down and the coin FTT going down, because a lot of platforms are actually holding FTT because that's what they were invested in.
Yeah, and so pushing the timeline, going to the next step on November 6th, speaking of, a lot of big holders of FTT, CZ came out at that time and announced that Binance would sell their remaining FTT tokens. So what was the rationale for that, and why did that sort of accelerate, spell the end for FTX?
Well, let's say CZ from Binance he's very skilled at the media. I remember reading some people who are reporters in different media sites saying that, CZ approached them with certain information on his competition that wasn't so pleasant. Then he was like, you got to cover this, you got to cover this. And so there's a lot of speculation as to who gave CoinDesk the balance sheet of Alameda, if it was CZ or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point because the truth came out regardless. But the fact that he publicly made that announcement was not by mistake. It's like when you're watching a movie and you see everything that's in the shot and everything is deliberate. Everything that he does publicly is deliberate. And furthermore, Alameda offered to buy his FTT tokens over the counter. And he denied that. He would rather do it slowly, but on the public market. So he was, again, just inspiring more fear. I mean, CZ is such a powerhouse in crypto. Everyone, I'm sure, is assuming that he's a big bag holder of FTT, which he was. It was like billions of dollars. And so for him to dump that, yeah, it was not a good look.
You mentioned the Alameda offering to purchase for $22. So from my understanding, that probably wasn't the smartest thing for Caroline to put out there, because it kind of gave traders like an understanding of the base level. Like, why was that number important? And like, once it broke below 22, how did that start the dominoes going?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, furthermore, also, Alameda Research was already like one of the largest, I think the largest holder of FTT. And then they were also going to try to scoop up what Binance had too. So like, if you're a holder of any cryptocurrency, you want it to be as fairly and evenly distributed as possible. And for the fact that that's already come to light that they're the largest holder and they're trying to get Binance's share as well, it wasn't a good look at all for that token. But yeah, for sure. The fact that she put out a price when they're already publicly kind of coming out as having a issue with their balance sheets. Yeah, that kind of put a target on the price for FTT for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm just following some of my notes here, make sure I get this right. But over the next few days after that tweet around buying the tokens, to offer to buy the tokens at $22 each, SBF tweeted that FTX assets are fine. Then FTX agreed to sell to Binance. So that news came out. Then SBF deleted that the assets are fine. Then Binance backed out of the purchase. And this all happened within like a day, by the way.
Yeah.
And by November 11th, FTX had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So can you give us your take on those events? Maybe a more in-depth version, anything I missed out?
No, just some like minor details that I was like, okay. Sam Bankman-Fried, when he was saying, finally admitting that they were having liquidity issues, and he was saying how Binance is going to step in and help them with their liquidity by purchasing FTX. He was like putting CZ Binance on such a pedestal. I don't know if you read that tweet. Yeah. I was like, did CZ hijack Sam's Twitter? And he was just like talking about himself or something. And yeah, the fact was CZ just did a letter of intent, right? So there's no legal binding that he actually had to buy it. So basically he took one look at the balance sheets and turned, because it would have been probably, if it wasn't as bad as we all know that it is now, it would have been a really interesting time for CZ to get a huge market share of users of crypto exchanges, because Binance is number 1 and FTX is number 3. So it's a good thing that he didn't buy it, because I mean, I think a lot of people are moving to Binance now anyway, unfortunately. But yeah, that would have been a crazy situation if he I mean, I don't think there's any assets of FTX now that he could have acquired anyway in that purchase, which is probably what he was also looking for. But just user wise, it would have been beneficial for him.
So in terms of, like Alf mentioned, this news, like that was 24, 48 hours. So much was happening. That continues to kind of be the case. I mean, we're recording this on the Saturday before it's released on the Monday. So there's 2 days where who knows what will happen in those next 48 hours. However, can you just kind of sum up, like, where are we now and where do you see things going? I mean, I guess the highlight of this week's events was Sam's delusional Twitter thread that was just incredibly odd and whatnot, and had a lot of people scratching their heads. But, you know, where do you see things are at now, and how do you think this is going to play out going forward?
Well, I think, there's two things. There's like the people who lost $11 billion, user funds are gone. So those people want justice. They want to see Sam locked up, right? And then there's like the other people who were like on the fringes of crypto and didn't invest and probably are regretting not investing, but now they see this like validation, like, oh, crypto is a scam. It's a whole Ponzi scheme. And that's the narrative that's being slung now by all mainstream media, is that crypto is a scam. FTX is crypto, which has been the theme I'm trying to holler against this whole week, is the difference between a centralized custody platform and blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, how they were designed to be a freedom tool. But there's people who are, even there's some other like YouTubers that I know that are becoming a little disillusioned of crypto. Like they think like it's all just a scam. Like it's all just pump and dumps, and NFTs are scams and DeFi is a scam. And it's crazy because, I don't see it that way, obviously. We go through growing pains, and the first growing pain is a speculation phase, and then we see utility. But what you need to pay attention to is that the very same time where this narrative of Sam being like almost a victim of this whole thing, like he wasn't deliberately misusing his users' funds for his benefit, where it's just a thing that happened and he was trying to be a humanitarian, but it didn't work out. At the same time, that narrative is making a shift. We're also seeing the announcement from the Fed and from Wall Street, like MasterCard, Citigroup, and others that are trying to do a 12-week pilot of the digital dollar. So CBDC. So they're going to say, look at how scammy crypto is. You're going to lose all your money so fast. But if you like digital currencies, we got this one. It's fully regulated. We control it all completely. And you're going to love it. So I see that as being the angle going forward. But I'd be most interested to see what happens to Sam. Because the FBI 2-3 days ago, I think it was on the 17th, they said they were considering extraditing him, and that the Bahamas isn't that far away from the US. So I don't know what's taking so long, but it'd be really interesting to see. Because if you remember, the coder from Tornado Cash was arrested like within 2 days of the US Treasury sanctioning the Tornado Cash code, and they arrested the developer behind it. All he did was write permissionless open source code. He didn't do anything with anyone's funds. He didn't steal anything. He didn't misappropriate anything. He didn't, anyway, there's a lot to be said there, but it's interesting to see how the narrative is shifting. And I think it's really important to pay attention to that.
Yeah, such a good point. Well, one of the reasons we're really excited to have this conversation is, the first half, it's good to document what has happened, kind of give for those people, because the crazy thing in my experience, I'll speak for myself personally, is I'm on crypto Twitter all the time. I'm seeing all this blow up and I think, man, everyone must be talking about it. And then I talk to my regular kind of like non-crypto interested friends and people are like, what's FTX? I haven't heard of that before. And I'm like,
oh, that's
what?
Good.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
We're still early.
Yeah, we're still early. So I think that first half of the episode was really good to just kind of, unpack what has happened. But I think the benefit we have in the remaining part of the interview is to just, hopefully provide that good information, those preventative things. And one of the things I love, Heidi, is, going back to when your YouTube channel launched, which was, I think, like 5 or 6 years ago, your first video was Welcome to Crypto Tips. And your second video was Here's how to use a hardware wallet. So you have been preaching this from very early on. So again, for those who are relatively new, don't understand the difference between custodial, non-custodial, why is it important to hold your funds self-custody?
I think obviously it's what we're seeing lay out is like, this is what the 5th or 10th platform in the past 7 months that has gone down. And like the 4th one that's declared bankruptcy. And all those people are just waiting to see if they're going to get anything back. I mean, the people with Voyager, FTX was going to buy Voyager and then that fell through. And now they're hoping for someone to buy Voyager. Maybe it's going to be Binance. I don't know. But so anyway, basically, I know why people, when they first get into crypto, it's very easy to launch an account on an exchange. That's how a lot of people buy their first cryptocurrencies. All you need to log in is a username and password. You will have to go through a lot of KYC, especially if you're a US citizen, but allows you to buy, store, trade a lot of different cryptocurrencies. And a lot of people, I think, get stuck there. They see that it works for now, and they're only hearing good things from the company because the company isn't going to tell you anything that's going wrong. They will admit what they have to, and they will deny what they can, always. So always trying to keep their users' funds. I think you should be wary of anyone ever who tells you, give me your crypto, I'll keep it safe for you. But exchanges aren't phrasing it like that. They're saying, oh, you can trade here. It's super user-friendly, whatever. They don't say anything about custody. I think a lot of people, as they dig deeper into cryptocurrencies and they hear about hardware wallets or paper wallets or private keys or seed phrases, they instantly get really overwhelmed. And I think it's really unfortunate because there is so much free information online, so many tutorials, good tutorials too, that give you step-by-step information. If one didn't really quite do it for you, watch another, watch 10 of them, because the time that you spend learning how to take true ownership over your investments is something that you will never forget. And it will repay you tenfold, not only in like a lack of stress because you're not worried about someone else giving you your coins back, but also like you have full ownership over it. You can finally unbank yourself, like everyone's trying to talk about doing. And hardware wallets are, in my opinion, a really happy medium between security and usability, especially for those who are pretty active in like DeFi or in Web3 wallets. Whenever you have the ability to connect in addition with your hardware wallet, you should always prioritize that option. But generally, why it's important to keep custody over your coins is they're yours officially forever, immutably, permanently, based on the blockchain. And that's a really beautiful thing.
Ulf, do you realize our audience has been either watching or listening to this episode for 20 minutes?
20 minutes? No, they should probably subscribe.
Yeah, they should subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you comment and turn on notifications. And if you're listening to this podcast, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and a review.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. So go check out the episode description. You can find all that information below. And we have an update on the NFT, don't we?
That's right. We didn't previously mention this, but this NFT for OG supporter is a one of one. There will only be one of this kind ever minted, and we have a few surprises for the person who purchases it. The link is in the episode description.
And back to the episode. So on the subject of hardware wallets, and I should just say maybe self-custody, CZ in this whole fiasco came out and made tweets basically promoting the use of of self-custody wallets, and specifically Trust Wallet was what he kind of promoted and pushed out there. Now, is that just him? Do you think that's just CZ trying to look like the hero and the good guy and the guy who's got the right ethics and morals, and or is he actually preaching the good word and trying to steer people in the right direction?
Yeah, it is kind of hard to discern, especially someone with that level of reach in this space. What they're saying to overall promote their own business, because he wants people to have a good experience in crypto, so then they stay invested in crypto, and that might eventually leech onto whatever he's doing. Or does he genuinely want people to do this for themselves, just for their own sake, not that he would actually ever benefit from it? Regardless, I mean, Trust Wallet wouldn't be my first choice for self-custody. I think it's maybe better than an exchange, but hot wallets are not secure, and I would not store the vast majority of my coins on there. Maybe just if you want to use it for spending on things or smaller purchases, but I wouldn't put everything you have on a hot wallet like Trust Wallet or Atomic Wallet or Exodus. All of those are pretty decent, but unless you can connect also through a hardware wallet to have that additional layer of safety, I wouldn't put all my coins there and think, oh, I'm totally safe now. There's plenty of ways to get hacked with a hot wallet too.
So this is switching gears a bit, going back to what we were talking about, but I thought it was interesting, the whole subject around how this has affected the mentality of people, whether those who are in the crypto space and understand it and participate in it, or the greater majority of people who aren't in crypto and just know of it. And I thought it was funny how this is skewing people's point of view around crypto's a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme, things like that, when a lot of what happened really isn't about crypto. It's not. It's about the greed of certain individuals who took advantage of their power and the tools and software and business that they built in this space around crypto to facilitate crypto. But what they were doing is not crypto. A centralized exchange is not crypto. It's not,
No.
And so it's just interesting. But the funny part I wanted to get to, is that I saw a tweet on Twitter, and it was someone saying that he got a message from his mom, and the message said something along the lines of, "Hey, just so you know, the creator of Bitcoin is flying to Argentina right now with $600 million that they just took out of their users' funds." And it's just that whole statement, I think, sums up for some people, how they looked at Sam Bankman-Fried as the creator of Bitcoin. So I don't know, what's your take on that and how it's maybe affected the greater population?
a really funny tweet. I would have laughed if I read that too. But also, like, it's such a sad thing for anyone who has taken any time to research who the people were that helped create blockchain technology. It's been, since the 70s, people have been trying, since the internet was invented, people tried to find a way to transact value in a decentralized manner, just like how the internet was doing that for information. They wanted to do that with money. So to think that someone like Sam Bankman-Fried would be called the creator of Bitcoin, it sucks. But yeah, it's definitely an example of also, this whole concept of when is crypto going to have mainstream adoption? And the common comparison is with email. Like when email first came out, you had to like kind of code to be able to send an email. And now you have no idea who invented it, what's actually running it, what HTTP is, or any of that stuff. But you just hit send and then it goes, and you know that it's going to get there and it's going to work. And so I think for those of us who are really into the history of crypto and why it was created, I think that's been my realization this past year, which is kind of sad that like it's going to be eroded whether I like it or not. And like that knowledge is for me to enjoy, and I'll speak about it for those who want to hear about it. But not too many people who are, searching about crypto are doing so to learn about that. Most people are doing it to learn about how to make money. When is a good time to buy crypto? And so when those are what most people are searching for, they're going to get links to highly marketable things like FTX or Binance or whatever. And then once you go on that exchange, obviously they're going to be promoting their own coins, BNB or FTT, maybe not those anymore, but you get the point. And it's only if they keep digging that they're going to find the gold or the Bitcoin or whatever, of the real essence of why crypto was invented. And, or the other offshoot is, or we're going to get mainstream adoption because just the traditional financial system completely implodes, fiat is abolished, and people have to use crypto. Or, just some completely nightmare Orwellian future, and people are going to be, it's going to be all black market and craziness. But I think more so it's just going to be a watered down version of crypto, which is really sad. It's going to be whatever is approved by Wall Street, whatever isn't too disruptive for them, whatever they can regulate and know what's happening and be kind of in control of it, because they want to make a profit too. I don't think they want to smother it completely. They can definitely be making a lot of money with crypto too. But yeah, who knows what the future's got.
One of the things that we heard a few times in interviews throughout the past couple of years is the idea that it's still too complicated to onboard the masses in terms of like proper self-custody and everything like that. And so I want to get your thoughts on that side of things, because you did touch on this earlier, saying that there are a ton of tutorial videos out. It really is worth taking the time and educating yourself. But like, where do you think that balance needs to be? Because on the one side, a lot of people are like, oh, this is too complicated. I'm going to lose these secret words. There's that big fear. So do you think that we need to get to a point where that is just an easier process? Or do you actually see it as it's kind of a feature rather than a bug, the fact that it is a little complex because that's what is enabling the security?
I think this is kind of a symptom of how there's a complete lack of just education about money in general as we're growing up. Even if you're an economist in college, you don't really understand, how money works, where it comes from. You're really trusting always someone else with your money, with the bank or some other custodian. So this concept of taking custody over your coins is really foreign to people, and it's really scary because that's literally never been an experience anyone's had before until they start getting into crypto. So I think there's obviously a motivation for developers to make this as user-friendly as possible. And as new people come in and actually go and explore these other wallets with just small amounts of crypto, you don't have to have a huge amount. Just put a little bit into a wallet, explore it. A lot of them are in beta phase, so you can leave feedback. And that's where it's just going to be over time. I definitely think it's going to get easier. But how marketable is a decentralized platform that isn't so heavy in VC funding versus something like an exchange where it seems like it's a one-stop shop? You can keep it there, you can trade it there, you can store it there. Oh, I can earn passive income here too. I can stake here. You can lend there. You can do everything on an exchange. Why would I pay a transaction fee to send it to a wallet, and then when I want to trade it again, I have to send it back and send another transaction fee? So there is some friction there, but Ledger is decent in that they have some collaborations with decentralized exchanges, which I think is pretty cool. They have like a swap feature too as well. You can purchase with your credit card, I think, on the Ledger, but for that, just for privacy, I'm a little hesitant to really promote that. It is a feature, but it's not something that I personally do. But yeah, long story short, I think it is going to get more user friendly. But if there's more of a demand for it, and maybe events like what's happening with FTX is going to drive that demand because of a lack of trust, which would be amazing because you shouldn't be trusting them in the first place. But again, I think that's just overall a new idea for people to not be able to trust a custodian with their money because they've held it in the bank for so long. If they have money in the bank, if it's not just all like credit cards, but still, those are my thoughts on that.
What about, we've mentioned decentralized exchanges a number of times during this conversation, but we haven't really talked about them and how they're potentially, part of the solution, because decentralized exchanges, if you're not familiar, is essentially performing the functions of a centralized exchange, but in a decentralized manner. And there's a lot of cool like features and functions being developed on a lot of these decentralized exchanges. As to whether or not they're in the same place that maybe a centralized exchange is, I think a lot of them still do have, there's some room to grow still and figure some things out. But there is a lot of decentralized exchanges that provide a lot of the functions that you can get from a centralized exchange. But the reason I bring this up is because I think that's, for some individuals, part of the challenge. We've talked about, well, it's nice because you can be on an exchange and they just think it's safe and it's been marketed to them. But there's other reasons too. There are like traders and people who want to, for example, get the lowest transaction fee while performing their trades through an exchange. And for many traders, a centralized exchange, because of those fees or other, maybe it's the tokens that are available for trading on that exchange, they might kind of have limited options, and centralized exchanges might be where they need to operate. So do you think that in the future, as decentralized exchanges adopt more features, functions, tokens, things like that we see, maybe lower transaction fees, the things that we see in centralized exchanges, that will also help solve this challenge of moving from centralization to decentralization?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even CZ Binance said that the future is decentralized exchanges. And that's a pretty big comment coming from someone who runs the largest centralized exchange. But if you just look again at the short history of decentralized exchanges, it wasn't too long ago that there was no such thing as a liquidity pool, and it was just peer-to-peer trading, and you had to wait for someone to take your trade. And that took a long time. There was sometimes slippage in price. Liquidity was begging for more. And now there's this concept of, you can be a liquidity provider. You can provide a pool of two coins that other people can trade against. And some exchanges, they let you get a cut of those transaction fees. So you kind of are becoming you're getting paid like a centralized exchange, but you're a person and you're providing liquidity for a decentralized platform, which is awesome to contribute to that, get paid for it also. So that was a huge jump because that was one of the main complaints about decentralized exchanges was lack of liquidity. Now we still have the issue of most of them are very chain specific. Like most exchanges or most decentralized exchanges are on Ethereum for Ethereum and Ethereum based tokens, or there's Solana, or there's AVAX. And, so it's now we're kind of seeing what's happening with bridges and the hacks that are happening with bridges. It's the same thing that's happened with decentralized exchanges, or DeFi at least. But I think bridges are going to get better, not to get too much in the weeds here. But I do think that there is some geniuses who are working and building for crypto and these platforms and these smart contracts. I think it's like the same people who are hacking these smart contracts are the same ones that are building it, so they can identify the weaknesses pretty easily. And that's kind of the beauty of an open source community, is that all eyes are on it, good, bad, and the ugly. Attack vectors can be identified and fixed for the better of that code and for the people who want to learn from that. So yeah, I think the future of decentralized exchanges is bright. Whether the number of people who participate in it grows as well, I think it would be great, obviously. I don't know. We have more and more people who are staying in crypto and maturing in it. So every year that crypto is still around, we have people who are around for another year and exploring more and getting more into it, hopefully. So I'm pretty optimistic about that.
One of the spin-offs from all of this FTX fallout has been maybe a refreshed view of people pushing Bitcoin maximalism a little bit and talking about and listen, I think for ourselves, for you, we're huge fans of Bitcoin. I don't want to speak on your behalf. That's kind of where the question is going, is what are your thoughts on those kind of pushing that narrative right now? And for you yourself, my understanding is that you're somebody who believes in a multi-chain future and that kind of thing, but what are your thoughts? And is there any validity to people who are pushing that message?
I don't think maximalism for any coin is healthy for anyone involved. For that person who is a toxic one or who is spreading the toxicity, I don't think it's good at all. I obviously give credit where credit is due. Bitcoin, it's my largest holding in crypto. It's my longest holding in crypto. When everything was going down with UST and all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt going around stable coins, people want to know, where can you go to store your wealth? My thought was, well, screw it. Let's put it all into Bitcoin. That's the one I feel most secure long-term holding, period. I'm not a maximalist by any means. I appreciate Bitcoin and I believe in it long term, but I'm also really inspired by what other people are building, and they're able to do so because other networks are smaller, more nimble. Maybe they're more centralized, but it's still open source code and things can still be learned from it, including the Bitcoin devs can learn from what's happening on other chains too. Whenever I really want to ask this question to like Bitcoin maximalists in person, but I always shy away from it. But the question is like, do you resent Bitcoin being open source? Because that's why there's all these other cryptocurrencies that exist, is because Satoshi created it to be open source, to be open to the public, do what you want, and obviously people are going to take that idea and run with it. And they have, and we've seen a lot of different things pop up because of it. So yeah, definitely a multi-chain future. I don't know how many are going to be around long-term, maybe like 20 or 50 or who knows, not 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, however many are in existence right now. But yeah, that's another thing too, is a lot of people I've noticed as they mature in their crypto journey, a lot of people just turn to maximalism, Bitcoin maximalism, because it is a safer choice. And it's easy just to go into that little comfort zone and being like, oh, that's a scam. That's a scam. That's a scam. This is Bitcoin, And so for me, it's kind of like, it's a cop-out almost. Oh my gosh, I'm going to make so many Bitcoin maximalists mad when I say that.
We're clipping that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's just as short-sighted as the people who don't understand crypto or are comparing, what's happening with FTX to the fiat currency or to fiat and the banking system and say it's the same thing. It's just a lazy response. And I mean, I get it. I hold Bitcoin and I love it, but I'm not limiting myself to that by any means.
What about the impacts of everything that's happened in regards to the markets themselves? Obviously, we're already in and have been in a bear market for a while now. Prices are way down from their highs. And this news actually, Bitcoin dropped to new lows for this cycle following the FTX news. And who knows where it'll go in the coming weeks or months, whether it'll go down further or maybe the bottom's in, who knows. But regardless, we're in a deep bear market. And with news like this that is so big, a lot of people hear about it. It affects their perception of crypto. What's your advice for those who are holders of crypto who maybe did buy in at a higher price and are currently, dealing with a bear market? Bear markets can be tough for investors. And, you've been around for a while, you've been through them. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think bear markets are the worst for the people who go heavy into altcoins. And I know this is funny coming from the conversation we just had about Bitcoin, but it's true. Like, altcoins are the riskiest investment wise. Absolutely. You don't know if they're going to stand the test of time. You don't know if the developers are going to actually build when the money's not there. If they do, that's a great sign. If they're still relevant in the next bull run, that's the next hurdle to get over, because it is pretty hypey in altcoins, at least with crypto. If this is your first bear market, let me enlighten you with some history. So this isn't the first time that a big exchange went down during a bear market. The first time was Mt. Gox. That one was trading 80% of all Bitcoin trades was happening on Mt. Gox. And that one went down. And Bitcoin still had all-time highs. A couple times after that, actually. Also, BitMEX went down in the other bear market, too. And so this isn't the first time. And Bitcoin and crypto recover every time. Also, look at all the negative things that's happening out of crypto, and it's still at 16,000. There's some people that think it's going to go to 11 or to 10,000, which it might. If it does, it's an excellent buying opportunity if you have a long-term perspective. If it's hard for you to understand why someone like me would be so confident in buying Bitcoin when no one wants it, it seems like no one wants it. It's counterintuitive, right? You don't want to be the one buying a rotten bag of apples. You have to see the value in it. You kind of see it as like it's going on sale for a limited time. And to understand a larger perspective, it really helps to understand what's happening with money generally around the world, not just in crypto, but in fiat as well. And I mean, it's an excellent hedge. The Fed, I forgot his name. One of the chairs of the Fed came out saying that crypto is totally a scam. It's just a full Ponzi scheme for the greater fool. If you can get someone who's more foolish than you to buy it, then that's why Bitcoin keeps getting valuable. And that's just ridiculous because of what you can do with Bitcoin compared to what you can do with fiat. It's borderless, it's permissionless, it's beautiful, but most people don't. It's true. Most people don't understand the value of that. They just want to make some profit, and fair enough, because look at what's been going on in the world the past few years. How many people haven't been able to work, have been laid off, or whatever, health reasons. Of course, people are going to be wanting to spend something in addition to the amount of inflation that's been happening, record-breaking inflation in countries that around the world. So everything is getting more expensive. Your purchasing power is getting cheaper. He tried to say, again, the guy from the Fed, he tried to say that crypto isn't a hedge against inflation. And I just have to laugh because had I kept everything that I had in fiat versus Bitcoin, I would be homeless probably at this point.
Heidi, so well said. You know, it's a treat having you on our podcast because you just have this wealth of knowledge and you've been around for quite a while. A lot of the people we've interviewed, they came into the space in 2017, 2018, which is awesome because then they stuck around during the bear market, which is definitely saying something. But your involvement predates that, and it shows because you have that experience, you have that conviction, and we love chatting to you. We're not going to let you off the hook until we ask you, though, the 3 questions that we ask every guest, and we've asked you these before, so we're going to update you with your. Yeah, we're gonna let you know what you answered previously and give you a chance to revise your previous answers. It's a segment we call "You Had Me at Crypto," and Alpha's going to ask you those questions.
All right, Heidi, you ready?
Sure.
All right. The first question. Who's your favorite person to follow in the crypto space? And your previous answer was Andreas Antonopoulos.
Okay. I do have an updated version. I still really like Andreas Antonopoulos, but more recently, Eric Voorhees. I feel like he's been on fire, and I'm really happy. Just as happy as I am that Andreas is a representative of the crypto space, I'm really happy that Eric is as well, because he's so well spoken and he's sharp and he's all over it. So yeah, Eric Voorhees this time.
Love it. All right. Second question. What will the price of Bitcoin be 10 years from now? And your original answer was it's going to be 1 Bitcoin. I think everything will be denominated in terms of Bitcoin by then.
See, that's the interesting point. 10 years, so 2 years ago, that would have been 2020, late 2020. So you're saying by 2030, everything will be denominated in Bitcoin. Sticking with that? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't know, because now they're really pushing for CBDCs. So I feel like that's going to be a hard battle won from Bitcoin. Not that I don't think Bitcoin's going to be around by any means in 10 years, definitely. But maybe in the black market, things will be priced in terms of Bitcoin. And then everything regulatory approval is going to be based in whatever country is the world reserve currency at that point. It would be great if it's Bitcoin, but I highly doubt that anyone's going to let that power be taken from a non-violent response to governmental power. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stick with my answer. 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin, but it might be black market Bitcoin.
All right. Love it. Yeah, I actually think that whole discussion of like where it will go is really interesting because, you know, CBDCs are going to be pushed, they're going to be rolled out, and it will be hard for those who want crypto, true crypto, to be sort of like the main currency that is utilized across the globe. It's going to be hard to do that because countries will fight to force you to use their CBDC, and in all likelihood, I mean that could lead to really bad things for crypto, like making it illegal to use and things like that. So we'll see. I think it's hard to shut down at the same time, and I think people will fight back, but it'll be an interesting battle to see how it plays out over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So third question here. What is the most underrated coin or project in all of crypto? And your original answer was, I try to stay crypto agnostic and not name drop coins. That's okay. This is a shill segment. I really dislike endorsing a coin. The things I really like about cryptocurrencies are interoperability, privacy features on a foundational level. So that was your original answer. What is your answer today?
I feel like I have a coin I want to say, but they're still having issues too. So it's definitely a work in progress. But if they stick to what they're saying they want to do, and they have so far, it's in line with what I said before: interoperability, decentralized, Thorchain, I think is very interesting. And I really hope that they keep going, because they're offering, you can use your hardware wallet, you use their ledger right on it. You can get a passive income from lending right from your hardware wallet. It's a decentralized exchange. It's true cross-chain transactions, basically, cross operability. Also, Cosmos is pretty cool in that respect. So I'm shilling a little bit, but guys, like, I still stick with my first answer. But if I have to say a coin, I'd say those two are pretty interesting. And what's also changed from now and 2 years ago is we're actually seeing coins actually building things that people need to use. So keep asking people that question. And if we do another video, hopefully it won't be another 2 years, but there's going to be even more like real projects that I could actually be like, yeah, that one's so cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. And you're definitely invited anytime, Heidi. We love having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining Ulf and I on Show Me the Crypto.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Show Me the Crypto. Please make sure to subscribe as well as rate and review this podcast.